minus inches, or several hundred million gallons of water from the river for use in San Francisco. Phelan's legendary quest for water means that San Francisco has what are called senior water rights, because water in California is currently allotted based on how long ago it was claimed. These rights to water predate 1913 and 14, when the state began to issue permits for these claims, all of which are recorded on pieces of yellowing paper and stamped with a golden seal. Even more golden, though, than senior water rights holders are those with riparian rights. Riparian rights entitle a landowner to use first sort out the antiquated water rights system and come up with a new way of allocating water. Others shake their heads at the conflict this reallocation will inevitably cause. As residents of California, we are being asked to cut down on our water use. We're being forced to think about where our water comes from. And for the first time, for many of us in California, the haves are faced directly with the question of whether their water rights are more or less important than the human right to water.
Combine all this. No storage, drought, oh, and yes, all these fish flows that we've got to, make sure they happen. Where are we going with all this? I don't know, but I'm telling you, we've talked about it. We've kept thinking there's an escape. We'll get out of this. It'll be okay. I don't think so. I'm not so sure anymore. This is the most serious it's ever been.
We started covering the drought in spring 2014. There was some coverage because at that point it was entering its third year, but it wasn't on a national stage like it is now. I feel like Californians are kind of used to drought and used to there being drought news, and so it's kind of like the boy who cried wolf. And whenever reporters talk about it, people don't necessarily pay attention to it. And so this year, now that it's still really dry and it's not really going away and there's more publicity about it, people are kind of like, oh yeah, maybe this is for real. When we started reporting on it, we really wanted to take an approach that was figuring out how the drought was going to be potentially affecting people from across the country. And effects of the drought seem to be being felt most immediately in the agricultural sector. It sort of was a natural place to jump to. So how much food are we talking about? Where does that food go? How much water does that food take? What are the effects of the drought on something like this? And that led us into this whole world of, okay, it takes this much water to grow this one thing that you put in your mouth. And I think food's something that people really relate to just because, we all eat it. Part of why we've been focusing so much on almonds isn't because they're the top water user. Technically, they're the second top water user, but it's because their acreage has been zooming up while a lot of other crops have been declining as there's less and less water, and that's all about the economy, and people are buying them. No, not just in the U.S., but most almonds, for example, that are grown in the U.S., in California, are exported abroad. Our entire agricultural system here is based on demand, both national and international. And then there's all these debates you can get.
Farmers, ranchers, they'll tell you the same thing. This is just what we do. It's water, it's our lifeblood. We don't abuse it. We know what it's worth. Yeah, we're disappointed. We're upset. That's fine. I just wish that people would understand and know what we go through, what we have to deal with.
What's the solution? What's the next step? The New York Times covered extensively how much water it takes to grow almonds. Personally, I don't find that to be super helpful. There are areas of the state that actually do have fairly sustainable water supplies right now. There are areas of the state, like in the Sacramento Valley, where they're farming rice, and they've developed ways to use less water, but they're using it as a habitat for the Pacific flyaway because they've lost all of the native wetland. And so there are places where water has co-benefits and multiple benefits that wouldn't be communicated at all just by thinking about how much water it takes on average to make a certain thing. And so rather than saying don't eat almonds, almonds are, in terms of a protein source, a pretty low water user. I would say something that may be more important is when we think about where we have agricultural production.